smile on my face, may not go my way. Still got my faith, so I'll be okay. I'll be okay.
I'm really excited to welcome the very first speaker of the American Contractor Summit Built to Last, Mr. Adam Kaminski. Adam, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much, Don. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
so
dude.
Excited to get started with our event here today.
This is it. Take it away, bro.
So awesome. Let's go ahead and get started. And again, I just want to say thank you to John and the team here at the American Contractor Summit. What a cool event just in general, but to be able to do this live broadcast across the country is just really fun. And looking forward to our time here together. So for those of you that aren't in studio, you might not know this, but we have a live studio audience that's packed. I think it seats 350 people. We've got a kombucha truck out front. So if you couldn't make it on the in-person, no, I'm just kidding. I'm in an empty studio right now. I just want you guys to know that this is all about you, all online, and we couldn't be more excited and more thrilled to be here to get to talk about what I think is the most important thing in any business, and that is our people. And that is the culture of our business as well. And so we're going to specifically spend some time together and hone in on what it means to attract top talent and how you retain top talent as well. And so we're going to have a fun time. I'm going to talk about 6 key points as it pertains to these topics. So without any further ado, something that I also wanted to do is just share with you guys something that I do every single day. I'm a firm believer in the concept that focus equals growth. And I didn't even give this to the team to share, but this is my gratitude journal. I don't know if they can zoom in on this or not here. Something that was created and handed to me many, many years ago that I love to do. And I want to just kind of give this as a freebie to you, because I know that as a business owner, many times the day can swirl. You can start with plans to do something, and by the time the day is over, you're completely away from what you had set aside that you wanted to accomplish. That's just real life. That's what happens in business sometimes. And that can get frustrating if that happens day after day after day. And so what I want to share this with you, this gratitude journal, there's 2 sections of it. The first section is 5 areas, 5 things that you can write down of things that you're grateful for. And so actually, I'll just share a few things over the last few days that I've written down that I was thankful for. On Sunday, the first thing that I wrote down, it being Easter, that I was very, very thankful for a risen Savior. I was very thankful for some family time that I got to have, including dinner with my parents. And then let's just fast forward to today, things that I'm thankful for. I want to encourage you to do this every single morning. Write down 3 to 5 things that you're thankful for. Today I wrote down, I got to have some quiet time last night cutting the grass. It's something that I do, or my me time. I hop on my tractor, I put some music in, or I'll listen to a podcast or whatever the case is, but I had a great time doing that last night. And of course, I'm really thankful for the opportunity to be here talking and speaking with all of you about, again, what I think is the most important thing that we could ever talk about. It's our team and the culture of our businesses. So I want to encourage you to do that. Write down 3 to 5 things, because what that does is it really puts in reference for us what's most important in our lives. And it's really easy to get to the end of a week and think, it was a tough week. It was really challenging and things aren't going the way that I want it to be. But when you can go back at the end of the week and you can look at a number of things that you've already written down that you're thankful for, how impactful could that be to the beginning of tomorrow for you? So I want to encourage you to do that. Then the next thing that I write down almost every single day are the things that I have accomplished that day. And again, this is something that protects that inner confidence of ourselves to make sure that we are, number one, holding ourselves accountable to task attainment. And number 2, excuse me, and number 2 also helps to make sure that we are focused on the right things in our day. So that was just a little bit of a freebie that I wanted to share with you, and excited to do that. But today, really what we're going to talk about is, again, how to attract and retain top talent. That's something that every business talks about, and it's something that every business wants to do. And sometimes it can be challenging to do that. Now, what I'm not going to talk about is the technology in recruiting. I'm not going to talk about the best tools to go out and to help you find new people. I'm going to talk about our businesses and how we set them up and how we look to our employees and our prospective employees. And so really what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you a series of questions that you'll be able to find the answer to, either directly or maybe spend some time thinking about it, but questions that you should be asking yourself, and then why those things are important. And so the first question that I want to ask is, as a business leader, when you're thinking about bringing somebody in, the first thing that you should have is, what is your story? What is the story for you as a business founder? What is your story for your company? How did it start? This is so important for you to be able to have dialogue with those individuals that you're thinking about bringing into your business about who you are and how you started. And I'll give you an example of this. My business partner, Aaron Christie, founded Indy Roof and Restoration back in 2018. He did not come from a home restoration background or anything along those lines, and he's got a great story, and it's really attractive to a lot of people. As a matter of fact, it was one of the things that attracted me so quickly to going and work at Indy Roof and Restoration as well. And I'll share a little bit of his story so you can see how this kind of can get played out. But he actually worked for a family business for many, many years. He started off when he was a youngster. He self-selected out of going to school. He wanted to get right into business and right into selling. So he convinced his dad and his brother at the family business to let him start working there, and quickly became very, very successful at selling the products that they were selling in the educational publishing arena. And through the years, as a young man, this job was great for him because he got to travel a lot. He was basically home a week and gone a week, every other week, bouncing back and forth. And as a young man, not married, no kids, that was awesome. Got to tour and see the country. But then he got married, and then he had kids. And all of a sudden, the thing that was so exciting to him about being able to travel the country, see lots of different people, now became a little bit taxing on the family life, as you can imagine. And again, I want to point out that this is a story that we share because it's important to the fabric of who we are at Indy Roof and Restoration. So what he decided to do was to branch out, because it was just getting too hard on a Sunday night, the kids surrounding his legs and holding on to him. No, Daddy, don't leave, because they wanted Dad to be around. And so he decided to branch out and do something different. And ultimately, that's when he decided to found Indy Roof and Restoration. And in that founding, he realized some things. He was making great money working at the family business, but it took a lot of time. So a part of our story is our business was founded to become a place where people could come and work and make a great living, but not have to sacrifice some of the things that are most important to many of us, and that's our family. So that's just an example for you of part of how we tell our story. Now, I would encourage you to think for your business, again, what is your story? Why did you start your company? This is something that is intriguing to many, many people. And I'll tell you that just because you're not out in the field selling your product and now you're trying to hire people to go out and sell your product, or maybe be on the production side or in the office or whatever the position is, the marketing team, you are still in sales. And this is something that's hugely important. Whether you're an owner or you're a leader within the business, you are still in sales. And really what you have to do is you have to sell the product of why it's important to join the team that you're asking this individual to join. If we don't have a good story, that'd almost be like, I'll equate it to our industry in the roofing. I'm sure in your community and in your area, there's lots of different restoration companies that a customer can choose to go with. And if we were to just show up and the customer's asking the question, well, why should I go with you when everybody sells the same shingles, you all do the same work, and you all have about the same price? Why should I go with you? If we don't have a convincing story of why they should go with us, it'd be like saying, well, you should pick us because the sky's blue. Well, yeah, that's just a fact, but does that really have anything to do with who we are? So again, it's the story that becomes so critically important for us. Also, sharing, even at that time in the interview process, what your vision for the business is, what the company's vision is. What about today? So you've gotten, and I'll use Indy Roof and Restoration just as an example because it's what I know to talk about. Founded in 2018, I can tell you that our goals today in 2025 are vastly different than our goals back in 2018. vastly different. We've gone from a startup company where Aaron was really the marketing, he was the CEO, he was the chief everything officer, he was the marketing department, he was the salesperson, he was the project manager, did about everything except for install the shingles. But when you grow past that, your goals have to change and you commit at a different and higher level. Share what those new visions, what those new goals are with those people that you're trying to attract, because it's important to them. They want to know how they can connect to that vision. The next question that I want to ask you is, why is your story important to others? And we touched on that here just a little bit, but connecting to or seeing how they can connect to your story is immensely important. And again, it goes back to you're in sales. You're trying to attract that person. And so having the convincing story, but also understanding why the story is important. It would be real easy just to begin to usher people in and through an interview process and talk about all the hard skills and can you sell, how much have you sold in the past, how much revenue have you generated in your last position and all that. And those things are important. I'm not putting that down. Those things are important. But also getting them to see, like, if they're the best salesperson in the world or the best marketer in the world and you're really trying to attract them, what's the story that they're going to connect to? The next thing that I want to challenge you to ask yourself is, who do you want to hire? Are you really honed in on the type of individual that you need in the position that you're hiring for? It's really easy to get wrapped up and just begin to think that, well, I need to hire a salesperson, so as long as I check the boxes to make sure that they've sold in the past, or maybe they're in the industry, or maybe you don't want to hire somebody from the industry, you want some fresh blood into the business. All those things are good. Again, check those things out. But what type of person are you looking for in the role? And I mean on the soft side of things. What type of personality? What type of behavioral traits are you looking for to bring into that role? It's immensely important, because if you're just hiring off of this guy can sell the most, or this girl can be the best marketer, or this individual can be the best person in the operations team, again, those things are good. But how many of us have made a hire where they're really good and proficient at the task we hired them for, but oh my gosh, they're so tough to be around. You almost grit your teeth when you go to open the office door in the morning because you know you're going to be greeted by so-and-so. And that's tough to do. So you want to make sure that you're also looking for those individuals that are the personality fits that you want to have within your business. I'm sure you've heard the phrase that people buy, so let's relate back to selling again, that people buy from people they like. I've always challenged that, because I think that people buy from people like them. And if that's true, if people buy from people like them, then what I would also say is people want to work with people like them. So this might be an area that we need to challenge ourselves as business leaders to say, how do I show up either in an interview or just day to day in my business? So for example, if you are needing to hire somebody that's super organized, maybe they are the accountant or the back office admin person, you need them to be really diligent and really organized in everything that they do. Be careful to not show them that you live your own life in disorder, because that's very challenging and that's very scary, frankly, to that individual that is an organized person. And so sometimes we have to kind of change who we are to attract the people that we want. Again, if you need somebody that's organized, be as organized as you possibly can be, especially through the interviewing process. If you need to hire somebody that is an extrovert, for example, maybe you're looking for somebody in a role that it's really, really important to you, that they're very, very outgoing. Maybe they're in that relationship developer role or something along those lines, and they need to be able to never know a stranger and all that kind of stuff. Don't be an introvert and never come out of your office and talk to your team. It's really, really important that you model the behavior of the person that you're looking to, again, attract into your business. Super important for us to do that. And so I think another thing that I would put into this category here is, does everything that you're about in your business reflect who you're trying to attract? And when we think about this can kind of be challenging, right? Because what I'll also say, what's also important as a business leader is, I don't want to just hire people like me. I already know what my thoughts and views and opinions are. I want to hire people that are different than me. However, I don't want to scare those individuals off because of how I approach my day as well. I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to feel welcomed. And so we have to make sure that, so for example, when it comes to organization, I'll just pick on that one again as an example. If they're organized and you're not an organized person, that's fine. I'm not saying that you need to go take Franklin Covey classes or whatever the case is, and maybe you should think about it, but you don't have to necessarily change who you are. But just know that it can be taxing and draining on that individual when we show up in chaos. And when we thrive sometimes as business and entrepreneurs, when we thrive in chaos, that can be very, very scary to that individual. That's that S-type personality that's super organized. And so how could you show up just slightly different to make sure that you're attracting those types of individuals to us? Very, very important. Something I also wanted to throw out that I forgot to mention at the beginning here is they're working with us. If you have any questions, feel free to put those in the comments. They're going to bring those in. I'm going to try to answer as many questions in real time as I possibly can. So feel free, if you want to tap into anything we're talking about, if you have any questions, put it in the chats, and they'll make sure to get it out to me, and we'll try to answer, like I said, as many questions as we possibly can. So how does our business look? What do the walls of our business look like? Again, if we're trying to be, seems like the latest and greatest rage right now is to be kind of a premier contractor. So there's tons of contractors out there, and there's many Chucks in the truck and all of that kind of stuff, and we all know that's the case, and God love them, but we want to stand out. We want to be different. We want to do quality type roofing projects and siding and all of that kind of thing. So how do we stand out? Now, is our office a mess? Is there stains all over the carpet and all of that kind of stuff? Or are we actually showing up and showing the individuals that come in for interviews that, hey, we are a quality company, and you can see it by the presentation of our office. One of the things that I was actually really impressed by coming down here to the American Contractor Show studio for the first time is how neat and tidy everything is. I can tell that they want to be a brand that is recognized for professionalism, that is recognized for organization, and that is recognized for really just being prepared by all the preparation that we got in the emails and everything else in preparation for this very event. It's how they showed up, and it's on display for people to see. I didn't have to do a reverse interview to find out, is this a place that has their stuff together or anything along those lines. I could see through the process. And through the interview process, it's going to be the same thing with the people that you're trying to attract as well. So just make sure that that's present and visible to people as they walk into your office, as you have that video call, as you have that phone conversation or text conversation. Show up as the company you want to be. Maybe not even the company that you are today. And that can be kind of challenging. Well, what do you mean by that? Don't show up as the company we are today. Sometimes the as-if principle is a really good principle to live and work by. And while you might be a startup company, while you might be a $30 million organization, where you are today, I'm sure, is not where you want to be in 2028. And so begin to think about, what does that 2028 version of you, what does that 2028 version of your company look like? Because quite honestly, that's the person you need to hire. I know that you're trying to fill a role for right now, but what about in 2028? Because I can tell you, one of the hardest things in the world to do is to hire somebody just to fill a role, and then your business grows, and what happens, what I call it, is the business passes that individual by. And then you have to have tough conversations about, hey, your performance was good 2 years ago, but you're not keeping up, and it's really, really important that we think about what we're doing there. And I want to introduce you to a phrase that we use every single day almost in our organization, and really in any organization that I'm a part of, and it's the belief that businesses don't grow, people do. And throughout this entire journey, how do you invest into the team that you have so that you can live that out, that understanding that, again, businesses don't grow, people do. And when you invest in your people, your business will grow because of it. And that's the great thing about that concept and that thought of again, businesses don't grow, people do. If you haven't written that down, I'd encourage you to do so. Okay, so we've just talked about 3 key components of what it's like, or the thoughts that we need to ask, questions we need to ask ourselves as it pertains to who am I trying to attract? Number 1, what is our story? And for us, understanding why our story is so important to that individual that's thinking about joining our organization. And then also thinking about who we want to hire, not just the job we need to fill. There's a big difference there. It's not about checking a box to say, yes, I hired the role. It's about finding the best person possible, as you can imagine and as you know. Now, the next side of things that I want to talk about, that was kind of on the attraction side of employment. And the next little while, what I'd like to talk about is more so on the retention side. And once you hire that great person, that perfect fit in the marketing department or in your admin office or wherever it is that you're fulfilling that role, how do you make sure that you retain that person? Because here's what I can tell you guys right now, is the job market is super interesting all across the country. There's areas that it's booming where there's employer shortages, and there's other areas where it's booming and there's employee shortages. But notice, first and foremost, it's booming one way or the other. It's just depending on which side of the table that you're sitting on. So really interesting stuff coming up. But the next question that I would ask on the retention side of things is, who are you? Who are you as a business? And I'm not talking in this phase necessarily about who you want to become. I think you can have a little bit of that. But realistically, who are you and how do you show up to your team members? How do you show up to those individuals that are currently on the team? What I'm going to introduce to you guys here is a format that I've used for many, many years. I'm going to try to use this. I feel like the guys on those political shows where I'm walking up over here, I need to take my jacket off, and when they go through the polls and the elections and all that kind of stuff, it's crazy. Let's not talk about politics though, so let's move on. And I want to introduce this document to you. I reference it as an organizational clarity document. And really what this is to do for us is to make sure that we can have clarity of who we are as a business. And this isn't, I want to be clear in this point, because this isn't, again, something necessarily about who we want to become only. This is also about who we are as an organization. And I'll use Indy Roof and Restoration as an example here. But in this document, it holds everything that is important to us as a business. First and foremost, our mission, that we are dedicated to adding value in the lives of people we interact with. Knowing our influence extends beyond our four walls, we intentionally prioritize our families, our team, our customers, and our community. And if I pause right there, I want to let you know that when we're making decisions on our business, we refer back to this many, many times on key decisions at different points of what this structure is. Because it's important to us, it's who we are, and it is also that who we want to become. But in this mission for us, this is not necessarily a customer-facing document. This isn't something that we wanted to come up with that sounded cool to put on our website that can maybe trick some people into going with us instead of one of our competitors in the market. This isn't who we are. This is all about for our team members and how we have to show up and how we do show up every single day. And so even if we break down what this mission statement is for us, it took a long time to come up with all this. As a matter of fact, we didn't even have this for the first 3 years of our organization because we needed to really figure out who we were and what was most important to us. But when we break down what our mission is to us, I'll just go to the second, for the sake of time, I'll go to the second part of the phrase here. Our influence extends beyond our four walls. We intentionally prioritize our family, our team, our customers, and our community. That is on order for us. So I told you at the beginning, a part of our story and the fabric of who we are at Indy Roof and Restoration was what was important was that we can prioritize time with our families. Many times I'll be asked a question from a team member, hey, I've got a soccer game with the little kids. If I come in real early, can I leave a little bit early tomorrow? I'll tell you what, you can't come in early tomorrow. And I still want you to leave early tomorrow because I want you to spend time with your family. Why is that important? Because it's living out the mission of who we are. And beyond the work and beyond the customers and beyond everything else, families are first for us. And so when it's within reason, now of course you've got to, everything that I say, please understand is within balance. Does that mean that everybody can carte blanche come and go as they please? Absolutely not. But people know and respect that we've got a mission to be family focused. And in that family focus, they know that they're going to get some leeway on their position. And of course, we expect there to still be production and to get your job done for the day, if you will. But after families, we prioritize our team. this is something that I learned as John mentioned when he was going through the introduction. I've had the opportunity to be a part of some very, very large teams, very, very large businesses in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and what a great experience. Now, what I can tell you is I've also been a part of Fortune 500 companies that look at things different, and that's okay. Every business can do what they want to do. That's no problem. For me, it's a little challenging though. When there's only a customer first mentality in a business, that tells me, or that shows to me as a team member, that your customer first mentality means that you care about customers more than you care about me. And I'm just a believer in what Richard Branson said many, many years ago, that if I take care of my team members will take care of my customers. And that's something that we focus on as well. So that's why we put our team before our customers, even in our mission statement. Are customers important? Of course. Every business exists to make money, and we do too. So we can't say that it's not important to us. It's exceptionally important to us. But what I will tell you is, when it comes down to a situation of where I've got to lend because I wasn't in a one-on-one interaction with a situation that might have arisen between a customer and an employee or something along those lines, I'm going to err on the side of my team member every single time. And we're going to come out to a good conclusion with the customer as well, but I'm going to be there for my team member. Because you know what? At the end of the day, when that project's complete next week or whenever it's going to be complete, I'm going to be working with my team member long after this transaction is complete with my customer. So that's just why we prioritize that. But then we're also dedicated and committed to be involved in our community. It's just a part of who we are. That's what we do financially. It's what we do from a time, talent, and treasure perspective. And everybody on our team knows this because we have this organizational clarity document. And we show this off and we work from this. Again, this isn't really about Indy Roof and Restoration for this. I'm not trying to showcase that. What I am trying to showcase is the importance of making sure that your team knows and understands what the mission is for the business. And also, what's the vision? Where do you want to go? So this mission is who we are right now, and the vision is where do we want to go? And for us, we want to be the benchmark of restoration companies in the state of Indiana. We want to be recognized for the professionalism of our team members, the effectiveness of our systems, and the quality of our services. So when we think about adding a new product line, when we think about maybe getting into a different vertical, we check those things against this document and say, can this help us accomplish our mission? Can this help us accomplish our vision? And if it doesn't very clearly check that box, then we don't do it. And it's that type of decision making that I feel our team members really, really value, because we're not being frivolous with our time. We're not being frivolous with our resources. We're being dedicated and committed to always being constant. And I think what's so important about this, again, is making sure that your team knows and understands how they impact what this is. This is a part of retaining top talent. So Adam, I thought we were talking about retaining. This is retaining top talent. When they see clearly how they connect to your business, they will live it on many times far beyond what you could even hope or dream. But if we're just a paycheck, if we're just a job, if we're just that rah-rah company that can have a great sales presentation on a sales meeting morning and pat their little fannies on the way out the door, that fizzles out. Getting them connected to something bigger is what's hugely important. Now, the most important thing that I can tell you as it pertains to hiring and retaining top talent, and this is really where I wanted to showcase this document, is making sure that you know and understand how significant, how important it is to have documented core values. And I want to challenge the thinking that many of us have had or maybe even have right now. Because this has been an area where I've seen lots of businesses, again, kind of trick their way into customer acquisition, really is what it becomes. And so they think that if I can throw a few buzzwords out there, if I can have some like really cool sayings or something like that, that'll make people want to pick me instead of my competitors. For us, that's just not the way that we look at it. That's not the way that I've looked at it in any of our businesses or any of my businesses that I've been involved in. Because again, our core values, it's about who we are. This is, again, employee facing, not necessarily customer facing. And so you don't see all over our website like our core values are X, Y, and Z, because that we'll show you. We're going to show you. Talk is cheap. We're going to show you what our core values are. But for us, our core values are approachable, coachable, competitive, overachievers, and relationship developers. I'll tell you what it's not, and I don't mean to offend anybody if these are your core values. I'd encourage you to take a look, though. Our core values are not honesty and integrity. You see that all over the place and in every business. And why I get so conflicted about this, those are important words and those are important things, don't get me wrong. But I can't help but think of 1999 Enron, the biggest financial scam I think ever in American history, where their core values, number one was honesty and number two was integrity. Yet they were the very company that all the movies, when you see, for you younger folks, when you see the movies where like there's a financial issue that happens and they're throwing boxes of papers out the windows and there's like office trash cans on fire, that was from Enron. That really happened in 1999. And again, their core values were honesty and integrity. It's kind of interesting. I go back to that blue sky reference. If this is sales and we're trying to show our current team members and the people that we're trying to attract who we really are, if we have to say that our core values are honesty and integrity, that's kind of like saying, again, well, the sky is blue, pick us. Well, that's just a fact. That's just a moment of today here in Indiana where we're at. The weather's perfect. I think it's going to be like 75 degrees and the skies are not a cloud in sight. And that's just a fact. That's a point of what the day is. Honesty and integrity should just be a fact of your business. It shouldn't necessarily be something that needs to be called out. Now, I'll tell you how we came up with these core values. It's pretty interesting. So we said we want our core values to be about who we are, not necessarily what we aspire to be. There can be a mix of that, but it's more so about who we are and how we show up every day. And so back a few years ago, we actually had an offsite leadership meeting, and we went through an exercise where we wrote down the names of all the people within our business over the previous years and that current year of the people that were wildly successful in different departments. And we tried to get somebody from every single department, if not multiple people from every single department. And we came up with a list of names, and it was awesome. We all had smiles on our face and everything. Well, yeah, this Paul Sopke, he's a great guy because, man, that guy's never met a stranger. He's just somebody that always stands out. He's always willing to help, and we would go on this list. And then we actually begin to write down those behavioral attributes of what made a Paul Sopke, for example, so successful at Indy Roof and Restoration. And so we went through this exercise, and next thing you know, we had those stick-on Post-it notes, the big one, and we had a name, bunch of behavioral attributes, then another big Post-it note with a name, and then another behavioral attribute, and so on and so forth. And we got really excited, and we said, okay, what do all these people have in common? What's really making them successful? And what was interesting was we begin to see the traits that all of the people that we said were extremely successful shared. And so we took note of those things, but then we said, we need to cross-reference this. I'm a data guy, so I like to cross-reference and check the math this way and that way just to make sure that we're right. So we said, let's write down the names of the individuals that haven't been successful. And maybe we thought we got the perfect hire, but they just fizzled out or whatever the case was. And sure enough, we did the same thing. We wrote their name down. We wrote down a list of things of why they weren't successful or what they were missing, why they weren't great, why they weren't a good fit. And they might have even been a good person, but they just weren't a fit for our business. And what we came back to was, again, these 5 things right here. And so for us, it became abundantly clear that a part of who we are and what our core values are to be successful at Indy Roof and Restoration, you have to have not just one, not 2, not 3, not 4. You have to have all 5 of these core values to be successful in our business. And that was the model that we used to come up with our core values, because I can tell you folks that we actually hire and fire. If I'm sitting across the table from somebody, a director of marketing, something along those lines, we'll get into some technical components. Of course, I want to hear about their background, what they've been able to accomplish at other positions and things along those lines. But I can tell you that I'm spending way more time in that interview process going through how can I identify if this person is approachable? How can I identify if they're coachable? And on it goes. And that's where I spend most of my time when I sit across the table from somebody in an interview process, because I know if I can nail these 5 things and make sure that those 5 things are already shown up in their lives, we could teach them how to do the job they got hired for. That's the easy stuff. Hopefully they're going to bring some stuff to the table too, but that's kind of the more easy stuff. I can't necessarily teach somebody how to be coachable. I've had all kinds of people that will sit across from my table and they'll nod along, and you try to give them coaching. You say, well, you could do it this way, you could do it that way, and they're nodding along and everything, and then they don't listen to anything that they say. That's not really being coachable. And so we identify those out. But having that stated and making sure, again, that that's present in the office. We've got placards and even definitions behind what our core values are in multiple places within our offices. And I can tell you, actually, this week we had a conversation as a team, and the entire business was in the same room, and we had a conversation about a subject, and we said, okay, we need to be better at the topic that we were discussing. And we said, when we're not, how does this compare against our core values? And we relate many things back to our core values. Again, we hire on that. We fire on that. I don't know that we've fired anybody for performance in the recent past, but I can tell you that we have definitely terminated people because they didn't align with what our core values were and what it takes to be successful on our team. And then on you go, and I won't spend a lot of time on the rest of it, but you guys can kind of see it. Again, just who we are as an organization. And having that clear and present is so important and so key. So that actually, I kind of got speedy there, but that actually lends into the last point here, and that is, who do you want to keep on the team? This is an important question that as a business leader, you need to be asking yourself on a regular basis. A mentor of mine told me one time to hire slowly and fire quickly. Now, doing terminations is one of the things that I hate more than anything, but that's why I have to spend more time in the hiring phase to make sure that I don't have to spend a lot of time in the termination phase. And with that, I want to make sure that you keep in mind that nothing will derail a top performer like tolerating a cancer in your organization or tolerating a low performer. And you might be thinking, well, that low performer, at least they get me a deal once a month, and I'd rather have one deal than no deals from somebody else on the team. I challenge you on that type of thinking. That's being addicted to one sales. And I want to encourage you, I want to release you to think much bigger than that, because again, let's just say your top guy or top person can get 15 deals a month, and then your bottom guy is getting 1 or 2 deals a month. What's going to happen in that top guy or top gal's mindset is, I don't need to push myself any harder because that guy's on the team and he only has to get 1 or 2 deals. And so I want to encourage you again to release yourself from that type of thinking and to think about, who do you want to keep on your team? Because that is one of the biggest keys to making sure that you retain the top talent on your team. I hope all this makes sense. I didn't see any questions come through on the chat, but I wanted you to feel free to reach out to me. They'll give you my contact information and all of that. It's been a pleasure to be here with you for a couple of minutes. And again, just a couple thought-provoking questions is really what we wanted to accomplish here. Looking forward to meeting with many of you at the next event. Thank you so much for being a part of this program.
Woke up today, smile on my face. May not go my way, still got my faith, so I'll be okay. I'll be okay. I'll be okay.